In the shadows of the Centauri Nebula, where starlight barely penetrated the cosmic dust, Drax Blackspire received what would become his most infamous contract. His reputation preceded him like a dark wave. 15 stellar cycles without a single failed mission had earned him the nickname, the Shadow of Certainty, among his peers. Drax's crystalline exoskeleton shifted colors slightly as he examined the contract details on his neural interface. His species, the Crystallians, were known for their ability to process information through their very being, their bodies serving as living computers. The contract seemed simple enough. Eliminate a human colonist on the frontier world of Paradise Falls. The payment made his crystalline structure pulse with interest, enough credits to buy a small star system. But something felt off about it, like a discordant note in an otherwise perfect symphony. His ship's eye, which he'd named Whisper, hummed quietly in the background. Statistical analysis suggests this contract is 47.3% above market rate. Whisper noted, its voice a soft vibration through Drax's neural link. Curious. Drax's crystalline fingers traced patterns in the holographic display. Humans, he mused, his voice resonating through his crystalline form. They've only been part of the galactic community for 3 cycles, and already they're causing enough trouble to warrant my services. The target was one James Sullivan, a colonist who, according to the file, spent his days cultivating something called wheat, a bizarre earth plant that humans insisted on growing everywhere they went. The file showed a simple farmstead on the outskirts of Paradise Falls' main settlement, far from any significant security presence. Whisper, what do we know about human physiology? Drax asked, his form shifting to a deep blue of concentration. The A's response was unusually hesitant. Limited data available. Humans are classified as Deathworlders. Their planet of origin, Earth, is considered a Class 12 Deathworld. They have demonstrated remarkable survival capabilities and unprecedented adaptability. Drax's crystalline structure flickered with amusement. A Deathworlder. How challenging can one farmer be? Pull up the standard elimination protocols. As Whisper displayed the usual methods, Drax noticed something odd. Each conventional assassination technique came with a warning label specifically for humans. Poison. Warning. Humans have been known to develop immunities to lethal compounds through repeated exposure. Atmospheric manipulation. Caution. Humans can survive in environmental conditions that would kill most species. The more Drax read, the more his crystalline form pulsed with intrigue. This wasn't just another contract. This was a challenge worthy of his reputation. He began formulating his approach, his body literally crystallizing plans as he thought them through. Setting course for Paradise Falls, Whisper announced. Estimated arrival in 47 standard hours. I've taken the liberty of updating your will, as per protocol when engaging with human targets. Drax's form shimmered with what might have been laughter. Your humor algorithms need adjustment. Whisper. This is just another job. By this time next week, James Sullivan will be nothing more than another completed contract, and I'll be significantly wealthier. As his ship slipped into hyperspace, Drax began his usual pre-mission preparation. He studied human behavior patterns, analyzed their weaknesses, and planned for every contingency. But somehow he missed the most crucial detail of all. The client's identity, hidden behind layers of encryption that would have told him exactly why this contract paid so well. The journey to Paradise Falls was uneventful, which should have been his first warning. In Drax's experience, the easiest approaches often led to the most complicated situations. As they entered the Paradise Falls system, Whisper picked up something unusual. Detecting anomalous energy readings from the target location, the AI reported. They appear to be agricultural in nature. Drax's crystalline form shifted to a questioning purple. Agricultural? How can energy readings be agricultural? Unknown, but they match no known patterns in my database. Curious. As they entered orbit, Drax began his surveillance. Through his ship's quantum-enhanced sensors, He watched James Sullivan go about his daily routine. The human seemed utterly ordinary, tending to his crops, checking his equipment, occasionally speaking to other colonists. But something about the way he moved, the efficiency of his actions, struck Drax as oddly familiar. Whisper, run a pattern analysis on the target's movements. After a moment, the AI responded with what could only be described as confusion. Analysis suggests military training, but the patterns don't match any known combat styles. They seem to be evolving in real time. Drax's form flickered with uncertainty for the first time in many cycles. What had seemed like a simple, if lucrative, contract was beginning to feel like something else entirely. But professional pride wouldn't allow him to back out now. Tomorrow, he would make his first attempt on James Sullivan's life, and then he would understand why the contract paid so well. Little did he know, he was about to learn why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most surprising species, and why taking contracts on them was considered professional suicide among the galaxy's elite assassins. James Sullivan's morning routine began like any other on Paradise Falls, with a cup of strong coffee and a walk through his mysterious fields. The crops he grew weren't ordinary wheat or corn. They seemed to pulse with an inner light, their leaves shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist in nature. From his hidden observation point, Drax watched as his target moved through the morning mist. His crystalline form shifted uneasily as his sensors detected energy patterns that defied explanation. The plants in Sullivan's fields weren't just growing. They were evolving, changing at a rate that should have been impossible. Scan complete, Whisper announced through their neural link. The crops appear to be communicating. Drax's form flickered in disbelief. Communicating? With what? With each other. And possibly something else. I'm detecting quantum entanglement patterns similar to advanced AI networks. The human farmer stopped at the edge of his field, kneeling to examine a cluster of glowing plants. He pulled out a small device, primitive by galactic standards, and made some notes. His movements were precise, economical, like a dancer performing a well-rehearsed routine. Drax initiated his first assassination attempt, a swarm of microscopic nanobots programmed to cause instant cardiac arrest. The swarm moved silently through the morning air, approaching Sullivan from multiple angles. Success seemed certain. Then the impossible happened. The plants around Sullivan suddenly pulsed with bright light, and the nanobots disappeared. Not destroyed, not deactivated, simply gone, as if they'd never existed. Sullivan stood up, stretched, and smiled directly at Drax's hidden position. Beautiful morning for farming, isn't it? He called out to apparently no one. The quantum fields are particularly active today. Drax's crystalline structure nearly shattered from shock. There was no way, absolutely no way, the human could have detected him. His stealth technology was the best in the galaxy. Interesting, Whisper commented. The target appears to be using the quantum-entangled crops as some sort of sensor network. Quite ingenious, actually. For the first time in his career, Drax felt something he'd never experienced before. Doubt. This wasn't just another target. This was something entirely different. The next few hours proved increasingly frustrating. Every attempt at elimination was met with seemingly accidental counters. A precision laser strike was deflected by a suddenly appearing mirror-like surface of water droplets. A temporal displacement field was somehow absorbed by the crops, making them grow even faster. As the local sun began to set, Sullivan stood in his doorway, holding a steaming cup of coffee. You know, he called out to the empty air, if you wanted to learn about quantum agriculture, you could have just asked. My door's always open. Drax's form pulsed with a mix of anger and fascination. This human wasn't just surviving his attempts. He was playing with him. Should I update your professional status to completely outmaneuvered? Whisper asked, its tone carrying what could only be described as amusement. The first day of assassination attempts ended not with a death, but with a mystery. Who exactly was James Sullivan? And what were those plants really for? Over the next 3 days, Drax's reputation as the galaxy's deadliest assassin crumbled like cosmic dust in a supernova. Each attempt to eliminate James Sullivan ended in increasingly bizarre failures. The weather control satellite hack resulted in perfect growing conditions for Sullivan's mysterious crops. The quantum destabilizer meant to disrupt cellular cohesion somehow accelerated plant growth instead. Even the experimental reality warping device, which should have erased Sullivan from existence, only managed to create a new strain of food crops that could grow in zero gravity. Your success rate has dropped to approximately 0%, Whisper helpfully noted. However, agricultural productivity in the target area has increased by 300%. Perhaps a career change is in order. Drax's crystalline form had taken on a permanent shade of frustrated purple. He watched through his quantum scopes as Sullivan calmly tended to his ever more mysterious farm. The human's movements remained precise, deliberate, and somehow familiar in a way that nagged at Drax's professional instincts. "Run another background check," he commanded. "There has to be something we're missing." All official records showed James Sullivan as a simple colonist who arrived on Paradise Falls 2 years ago, Whisper replied. However, the patterns in his movements suggest advanced training in at least 17 different combat styles, including 3 that haven't been invented yet. Drax's form pulsed with surprise. Haven't been invented yet? That's impossible. As impossible as crops that communicate through quantum entanglement, Whisper countered. Or as impossible as a human farmer casually nullifying the galaxy's most advanced assassination techniques. The next attempt involved a carefully orchestrated series of supposedly random accidents. Drax had spent hours calculating every possibility, every angle. The result? Sullivan won the colony's lottery 3 times in a row and discovered a new mineral deposit that made him the richest farmer in the sector. "I've been analyzing the pattern of our failures," Whisper announced one evening. "There's a 99.9% probability that they're not failures at all. They're lessons." Drax's form shifted to a deep blue of contemplation. "Lessons? What do you mean?" "Each failed attempt has led to an advancement in agricultural technology, quantum physics, or colonial development. It's as if someone is using your assassination attempts as a teaching tool." The realization hit Drax like a quantum wave collapse. The familiar movements, the impossible counters, the seemingly accidental innovations, it all pointed to one incredible conclusion. "He's not just surviving our attempts," Drax whispered. "He's choreographing them." As if in response to this revelation, a message appeared on his ship's communication system. It was from Sullivan, and it contained just 3 words: "Ready to learn." Drax's professional pride warred with his growing curiosity. In all his years as an assassin, he'd never encountered anyone who could not only thwart his every attempt, but turn each failure into a triumph. "What's our next move?" Whisper asked. For the first time in his career, Drax didn't have an answer, but he was beginning to understand that this contract wasn't about assassination at all. It was about something much more interesting. After a week of spectacular failures, Drax did something unprecedented in his career. He walked openly toward his target's front door. His crystalline form shifted through colors of uncertainty as he approached the farmhouse where James Sullivan sat calmly in a rocking chair, drinking his ever-present coffee. "I was wondering when you'd decide to talk," Sullivan said, gesturing to another chair. "Coffee? Real Earth coffee, not that synthesized stuff." Drax's form pulsed with a mix of professional indignation and curiosity. "Who are you really?" Sullivan smiled, pouring a cup of coffee into what appeared to be a specially designed crystalline mug. "Someone who got tired of traditional retirement plans. Did you know that farming is surprisingly similar to what we used to do? It's all about patience, timing, and understanding complex systems. Drax's structure flickered as realization began to dawn. "Before I was James Sullivan, farmer on Paradise Falls, I had another name. The Quantum Wraith. Ring any bells?" Drax's entire form went transparent in shock. The Quantum Wraith was a legend, the greatest operative in the history of the Galactic Intelligence Service. They said he could manipulate probability itself, turn any situation to his advantage. He had disappeared 15 years ago, leaving behind stories that most believed were impossible. "But you're human," Drax protested. The Quantum Wraith operated before humans even joined the galactic community. Sullivan's smile widened. "Did we? Or did we just let everyone think that? Humanity has been watching, learning, and preparing for a very long time. Those stories about us being newcomers to galactic society, let's just say appearances, can be deceiving." The fields around them pulsed with quantum energy, and Drax finally understood what he was seeing. These weren't just crops. They were a massive quantum computer, processing possibilities, manipulating probabilities, all disguised as a simple farm. "The contract," Drax said slowly. "You arranged it. I needed someone with your particular skills and mindset." Sullivan nodded. "Someone who wouldn't give up, who would try everything in their arsenal. Each of your attempts helped me refine the quantum field technology. Your creativity in trying to kill me advanced my research by years." Whisper's voice chimed in through their neural link. "That explains the statistical impossibilities we've been encountering. He wasn't surviving your attempts. He was using them." Sullivan stood, walking to the edge of his glowing fields. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. It's our ability to turn any situation, even attempts on our lives, into opportunities for growth." Drax followed, his crystalline form shifting between colors of confusion and understanding. "But why me? Why this elaborate setup?" "Because the galaxy is changing," Sullivan replied. "The old ways of solving problems, assassination, warfare, direct confrontation, they won't work for what's coming. We need people who can think differently, who can turn destructive forces into creative ones." He handed Drax a small quantum crystal. "This contains an offer. We're forming a new organization, Quantum Agricultural Defense and Development Initiative, QADDI. We need operatives who can think creatively, who understand both destruction and creation." Drax's form pulsed with surprise. "You want me to become a farmer?" Sullivan laughed. "I want you to become something new. These fields aren't just for growing food. They're probability manipulators, reality stabilizers, quantum computers disguised as crops. We're farming the fabric of reality itself." The quantum crystal in Drax's hand pulsed with possibilities. His assassin's instincts, honed over centuries, told him this was more than a job offer. It was a chance to be part of something revolutionary. "The pay is good," Sullivan added with a smile, "though probably not as much as your usual contracts. But the benefits include learning how to manipulate quantum reality and helping shape the future of galactic agriculture." Whisper, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke. "Analysis complete. This opportunity represents a 99.99% chance of being the most interesting career change in recorded history." Drax looked at his crystalline hands, then at the glowing fields around him. For centuries, he had been the galaxy's most feared assassin, the shadow of certainty. Now he had the chance to become something else entirely. "Do I get to keep Whisper?" he asked. Sullivan grinned. "Of course, though you might want to upgrade its agricultural subroutines." And so, on a small farm on Paradise Falls, the galaxy's deadliest assassin became its first quantum agricultural defense specialist. The stories of his transformation spread through the galactic underworld, becoming a legend of their own. They say if you visit Paradise Falls now, you might see fields that glow with impossible colors, tended by a crystalline being whose form shifts like light through a prism. And if you listen carefully, you might hear him discussing quantum probability theories with his AI, while enjoying a cup of real Earth coffee. As for James Sullivan, or whatever his real name was, he still maintains his farm, still accepts the occasional visitor who comes with less than peaceful intentions. After all, he says, every attempted assassination is just another opportunity to test new quantum farming techniques. And somewhere, in the vast databases of the Galactic Intelligence Service, a file exists with a simple notation: Operation Quantum Harvest. Status: successful. Asset acquired. Phase 2 initiated. The galaxy would never be quite the same again.